Independence City Council for Monday, October 28th, 2019. We have two presentations this evening, a couple of staff reports, so we will begin with the IPL production update and discussion of next steps. Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Before we move forward with the first presentation, may I suggest that we let the PUAB review this and bring their thoughts and suggestions and concerns to the City Council before we proceed with this?
Is that a motion? Is there a second?
I will make that informal motion.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I'll second it,
Okay.
because that's what needs, I think that needs to be done that way too, just protocol should go in that order.
Okay, is there any objection to taking this to the PUAB prior to it being presented to the council?
I agree with it.
Madam Mayor, I would like to object to a couple parts of it, just because we've already talked about closing Blue Valley, and so has the PUAB. And this really addresses talking about the next steps, especially the transition to, which is really under the auspices of the city manager's office. You know, we're just simply a policy body. We're not in charge of any transitions. So I think those two things we should discuss tonight. If they want to talk about the combustion turbines and the future of the Blue Valley facility, I mean, we can remand that back to the PUAB. Some of that was in the Burns and Mack study that we all discussed, both at the PUAB and the City Council. But the other two items have already been discussed, and we've all agreed that we're going to close Blue Valley, both the PUAB and us. So I think it's incumbent on us to move ahead, especially since that time is drawing short, and we need to talk about setting a date, especially after we get the final study results. So I would be willing to remand part of it back, but I think part of it needs to be discussed by us.
Okay, thank you. What I think that we need to establish is there's only so many days in the year, and information, and that information can be presented. So we don't have a consistent process about when the council receives information and when the PUAB receives information. I don't see any problem, since we're not making any decisions or no recommendations are happening tonight. The PUAB always gets the opportunity to hear these presentations as well. So I don't see a need to, since we have prepared to hear this presentation this evening, any reason not to hear it. And it certainly will be presented to the PUAB at their next meeting, or whenever they request for that, whenever that is scheduled. So,
Mayor?
Yes.
I just don't want to hear it twice. And I think the charter,
Then don't come to the PUAB meeting.
and I think the charter is fairly clear that it should go policy-wise to the PUAB before it comes here.
I don't think that's clear. I don't care one way or the other than we have people here tonight who prepared to give this presentation this evening. I think we need to make a determination on what the protocol is going to be and stick to that. I don't feel like it's necessarily helpful to hear part of a presentation, and I'm not going to object to having the PUAB look at it first, but I would ask this council to develop a policy, a procedure, how we want to do this, and stick to it.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. City Manager, I do agree with the councilman that time is of the essence. We want to have a good, diligent time schedule. Can we see if the PUAB would be willing to meet at a special called meeting for them?
Right. My recommendation would be that we do try to schedule this in front of the PUAB under the Sunshine Law, of course, and as short of a time frame as possible, simply because within the next 3 to 4 weeks we will receive our transmission assessment from the Southwest Power Pool, which will trigger the 6-month clock before the city's contract with Oneta would be slated to go live. And though we say that we intend to close Blue Valley, there's a lot of variation of what that means, and we need to get some consensus on what that means. So I believe we've got a good rapport with that committee. I think we could get something scheduled and still get this in front of council in short order, but
Sure.
I would stress the importance of that.
Absolutely, thank you. And with our next steps that we're going to take, these are important generational steps, and in the process of that, I don't want us to skip a step that we could have done.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to allow the PUAB to hear this presentation prior to it being forward to the council. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes?
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
No.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Okay, Englewood's Arts District update, Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, tonight we have scheduled a presentation from Community Development Director Tom Scannell to review history of the Englewoods Arts District and some of their ongoing efforts about updating some of the overlay parameters. So I will yield to Mr. Scannell.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. As Zach mentioned, this presentation is going to give a brief overview of the history of the Arts District, as well as provide a review of the Arts District regulations as they stand in place today, and then also provide a brief update on the community's efforts within revitalizing that area. I am on the IPL one. All right. It's the right presentation. Okay, so back in 2009, there was a partnership between the Economic Development Council, the city, and the Englewood Business Association. They hired an outside firm to conduct the Englewood Arts District feasibility study. That study was completed, and the results were presented to the City Council back in October of 2009. The study had lots of recommendations, first of which was the formal creation of an arts district. Some other recommendations included the adaptive reuse of the comprehensive mental health building, the addition of public art, a series of streetscape enhancements and improvements, as well as management and oversight of the district. Over the years, the city, in partnership with the Englewood property owners, worked towards achieving those recommendations outlined in that study. In 2010, staff worked with the property owners and the business owners within Englewood to develop the UDO regulations for the Arts District. Over several months, the work developed, and they finalized the Arts District regulations, brought that forward to the Planning Commission and City Council, with the council amending the UDO to adopt the Arts District on September 7th of 2010. This effort supported one of the recommendations, which was creating the Arts District. Following that amendment, the property owners and business owners in Englewood worked to rezone the property. Their effort culminated in the Englewood area being rezoned on September 19th of 2011. Later in November of 2011, there was a UDO amendment which was making some adjustments to the Arts District as it relates to residential uses as well as design standards. So what is the purpose of the Arts District? It's intended to encourage the preservation and enhancements of art-related uses, promote a strong pedestrian character, and provide an opportunity to create a focus for revitalization and promotion of the cultural and artistic environment. The Arts District itself is a special purpose zoning district, and it contains regulations regarding the allowed uses, the allowed signage, as well as design standards. The regulations do not allow for outdoor storage of goods or materials for sale. I'm going to kind of switch gears here and talk about some of the community efforts since the Arts District has been put in place. GROW, which stands for Grassroots of Western Independence, is a subcommittee of the Inglewood Arts group. They are working on a overlay district plan. The goal of that plan is to promote a robust and sustainable neighborhood. One of their projects they have worked on is done a visual inspection of the properties within the area surrounding the Inglewood Arts District, and graded all those properties on the scale of poor to excellent. As I mentioned, GROW is working on developing an overlay district. The purpose of that is to sustain great neighborhoods, work to incorporate art to enhance the neighborhoods, encourage revitalization, nurture the artistic contribution, and maintain the residential character of the neighborhood. That's my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Scannell, I know in the Arts District, in our UDO, there is a prohibition against outside storage. Would that be, I had asked Community Development to look at that. Would that be separate from this? I mean, the only art district I know of that the UDO covers is the Inglewood Arts.
Correct, yes.
And am I correct in remembering that there is no overnight storage allowed in the Inglewood Arts District? And have we looked at those provisions?
Yes, and yes, we also reached out to the Inglewood Business Association, and in talking with them, they're open to having the conversation to re-look at that. Back in 2010, when those regulations were put in place, the UDO was not as far as what we have it today, meaning we have more regulations in there now that covers a lot of businesses, and so they are open to having that conversation regarding that.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
what's open storage?
The way that it is worded, it's very vague. I know in our property maintenance code, we have regulations regarding open storage. But this language is a one sentence. It's very vague. It just says open storage of goods and materials is prohibited.
Okay, so hopefully, if I'm understanding it, that we are in a process to make this more clear and defining,
Correct, yes, yeah,
and we're having these discussions as we speak.
yes.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
So, Tom, in 2008-9, there was, prior to the, or in maybe included in the timeline that you gave us, when the Economic Development Corporation, the city, and the Inglewood Business Association started conducting a feasibility study that then resulted in the Arts District zoning. Around that same time, sort of the bigger picture of that was that did not just include Englewood, and it wasn't specifically for the arts. It included all the commercial districts of Western Independence west of Sterling. So it included Fairmount, Maywood, and Englewood. And what was originally proposed was an overlay district for all of those commercial districts that had specific, uses and setbacks and signage and so on and so forth. That was not, if my memory serves me correctly, that was not approved by the city council. So then it got scaled back to a group that worked specifically on Englewood and created the arts zoning. And what the Englewood saw at the time was the arts was an overlay district for Englewood. The Planning Commission and ultimately the City Council debated that and did not grant the overlay district, but they granted this zoning, which anybody in the city who meets the requirements can apply for that zoning. So it's not exclusive to Englewood. Nobody else has. It would be very unlikely in our current, currently in the city that anybody would qualify or would even desire to qualify for that. But there may be opportunity, I would say, in development of the Little Blue Valley, Newtown Harmony, that area that might be attractive to somebody in the future. So explain to me now, because I remember vividly, the back and forth between the zoning and the overlay. What is this overlay looking to do that's not included in the arts zoning that they already have?
Are you talking about the overlay district?
Yeah.
That would be applied to the surrounding neighborhoods?
Well, I don't know what I mean. I'm asking you if they are working on this. They're working on a number of things, but one of them is an overlay is that for the commercial part or for the residential part? Because the arts zoning extends into the neighborhood. It's not just the two sides of Winter Road. It extends a little ways into the neighborhood. So can you give us an idea? And I know it's not completed yet, but what is it that they're trying to achieve that was not achieved by the zoning?
So the arts district, as you mentioned, is applied along that strip of Winter Road, and in some cases it's one property deep. In other cases it's two
Right.
or three properties deep.
Mm-hmm.
They are taking the next step, kind of what they were looking at in 2008 with that overlay district outside of the now established Englewood Arts District. And they want to do an overlay district that would allow for some rules that would allow them to have art in their front yard, artists live, work, studios out of their house, ways so that the neighborhood can support the arts district and vice versa.
So I guess my question is, based on history, is why are they pursuing, and I presume they're working with our staff, an overlay instead of, rather than amending that zoning and then just creating a bigger boundary for it? Because, and a lot has changed over the years, but that overlay was not successful in, that going that route was not successful. That's not saying it wouldn't be now, but after all they went through, to do the overlay, and then they went back to the drawing board to do the zoning. They already have that in hand. So could the zoning not be amended? It just seems to me like it might be more straightforward or a simpler process to just, work with what they already have and amend that, and to allow for additional things, and then to just redraw the boundaries of that zoning.
And I think the reason why they're going with an overlay district is the neighborhoods that surround Inglewood and the square have a variety of different zonings, from
Okay.
single family to duplex to multi-family. So they want that overlay district so that the base zoning still applies, but yet the overlay would be overlain on top of that and still allow some of these artistic endeavors to take place in those neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yes.
Yes.
How can you, I mean, have the code or the redistricting of what it is and allow the, I mean, is it in contrast to what's already there? The overlay?
No, the overlay is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Like I said, if you are in the overlay district, you would have the ability to have an artist live, work, studio out of your
So if you
residence.
weren't in the overlay, would you be able to go there?
No.
Okay, well, we'll see what they develop. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, this takes us to staff reports. First is it good for the children campaign, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, at the bottom of each of your regular council meeting agendas, as well as our study session agendas, appears the tagline, "Is it good for the children?" Believe you have in your packets tonight information related to a resolution that was adopted some time ago, as well as some correspondence from the mayor to revisit that in light of our Independence for All strategic plan. So our goal as staff tonight was to get direction on retaining that tagline or modernizing this in keeping with our Independence for All strategic plan.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions? Yes.
I just wanted, just wanted to push back a little bit. I know Independence for All is a great tagline. It's been on our strategic plan, and it's part of our goals and objectives for the city. And it's good public relations to have everything match, just like our logo. So I'm not opposed to putting it on our agendas and some of the other letters and things that may go out with that tagline on it. I guess the reason that I still like to have "Is it good for the children" on there is, well, first of all, if it's good for the children, for people and children especially that really don't have the ability to speak for themselves a lot of times, if it's good for them, it's good for everybody. And the tagline "Independence for All" it has good meaning. However, "Is it good for the children" is an ethical statement, and it carries a lot more ethics than the statement "Independence for All," because it talks about good. Is it good for the children? And that, I think, carries the idea that we want the best. And I hate to take that off our agendas and some of our other forums because of that ethical statement, which we will lose if we take that off. So I think being an advocate for children is not something that goes in and out of fashion. I think it's something that we should continue. So I'd be in favor of putting both on there.
Okay, we would need just tonight direction from the council to bring this forward as a resolution. So is there any objection to bringing this forward for a vote of the council at the next council meeting? Okay, thank you. Boards and commissions report. Madam City Clerk.
We have a few boards and commissions that we're looking to fill vacancies on. The first one is the Tourism Commission. We received recommendation to appoint Stephen Cohn and James Allen. If there's no objections from the council, we'll get a resolution added to the next meeting.
Okay, are there any objections? Okay, hearing none, you can put that on the next council meeting agenda.
Thank you. The next commission is the Stormwater Control Oversight Committee. We've received recommendation to appoint Anthony Giria Miata. If there's no,
So, no, don't ask you. Okay.
if there's no objection, we'll add a resolution to the next meeting.
Okay, is there any objection? Okay, hearing none, we'll move that forward.
The next committee is the Public Safety Tax Oversight Committee. We have recommendation to reappoint Christopher Harris, Joshua Mayfield, and appoint Donna Pittman. If there's no objection, we'll add a resolution to the next regular meeting.
Any objection? Okay, thank you.
Next is Sustainability Commission. There's a recommendation to appoint Casey Phillips. If there's no objection, we'll add a resolution to the next regular meeting.
Okay, are there any objections? Hearing none, you can move that one forward.
Next is the Advisory Board of Health. We have recommendation to reappoint Shauna Jackson, John Ruddy, and Donald Potts. If there's no objections, we'll add a resolution to the next regular meeting.
Any objection? Okay, move that one forward.
And finally, Street Improvement Oversight Committee. There's a recommendation to reappoint Fran Wagner. If there's no objections, we'll add a resolution to the next regular meeting.
Okay, are there any objections? Okay,
Thank you.
Are there any other topics any council member wishes to discuss?
I just wondered, Madam Mayor, where we are on the Planning Commission vacancy.
The council interview committee has met. I don't know if somebody, I'm not on it. Oh, you're
Tomorrow,
moving
10 o'clock.
tomorrow?
Okay,
We're
great.
meeting again tomorrow.
Thank you.
We're meeting tomorrow?
10 o'clock.
Anything else? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. Got some good news out in my neck of the woods. We've got a plan to possibly develop a vacant piece of property. Went out there today with the city manager and another city official, took a look at it. It's a really great idea, and I want to urge the city manager to get all the documents together to put it out for public offers to see if we can get anything better on it. And if we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. I'd like to move forward on this. It is a retail and commercial mix, an area that has sat vacant for over probably 30 years, but we've had the property for a long time. So I'm excited to see something that will have, again, retail and commercial, bring in utilities and taxes rather than mow it and clean it. So hopefully we can get that going here real soon, get some answers back so we can start hammering out some details of a real good plan.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. City Manager?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, we're adjourned.